You have been reincarnated into a man's ultimate dream. As a first-generation Xingshin mecha, having assisted pilots countless times in saving this world invaded by monsters. However, you, who should have been hailed as a hero, had your core damaged by a monster during your final battle, leading to a drastic decline in the mecha's functions, to the point of being treated as scrapped machinery, used for training by the violent girl, Song Ling Shuang. And so, the true nightmare began. Theoretically, as a mecha you feel no pain. But unfortunately, this old model mecha utilizes neural synchronization technology. Song Ling Shuang often causes the gun barrels to overheat during training, never considering your performance limits, making you feel beast-like excruciating pain every single time. And even stranger, every time Song Ling Shuang establishes a neural link with you, you can feel her deep-seated hatred toward you. However, before you could investigate the source of this hatred, the conversation of the mechanics reached your ears. The energy conversion of Xingshin's power reactor is getting lower and lower. It will likely go into permanent sleep after the next training session. Hearing these words, you froze instantly. But before you could recover from this cold sentence, in the next moment, the mecha's built-in radar suddenly emitted a piercing alarm. On the display, several red dots were approaching the Zhuan space. The mechanic reacted quickly, immediately broadcasting a warning. Energy strike detected incoming. Please evacuate immediately to the nearest shelter. As soon as he finished speaking, the next moment, several fireballs crashed through the ceiling of the hangar, plunging straight toward the people in the control room. But just as everyone was about to be hit by the fireballs, you suddenly thrust out your arm, pinning the fireballs firmly against the wall. But the temperature of the fireballs burned through the alloy shell of your palm. Pale blue metallic liquid could be seen leaking through the gaps of your fingers. And right at that moment, a soldier came stumbling in. Urgent dispatch from the front line. The giant beast Leviathan has launched an unknown energy attack toward Zhenhai City. Multiple energy masses are falling toward our base. They transformed into physical forms in mid-air. They are Type 2 monsters and fusible polymer beasts. Currently, it will take the two main mechas nearest to the base at least half an hour to return for support.
Hearing this,
The command center fell into a dead silence. Everyone knew the only mecha currently capable of fighting at the base was only you, this old antique. And the person who could pilot you was Song Ling Shuang. Seeing this, Song Ling Shuang stepped forward immediately, saying, "Please let me pilot Xingzhen into battle." The mechanic heard this and was sweating profusely with anxiety. No, Xingzhen's power reactor peak is only at 60%. It needs at least 10 minutes of auxiliary flow energy before it can be activated. Forcing a startup now will definitely cause the mecha to be scrapped. But Song Ling Shuang, hearing this, not only did she not stop, instead she forcibly initiated the neural synchronization link. You vaguely heard her sneer. "Come on, you old piece of junk. Let me see how you became a legend back in the day."
hearing this,
You felt a mental breakdown, shouting, "Can't you wait for this old piece of junk to finish charging before heading out?" If reincarnation comes with a cheat code, what you wanted most right now was definitely the ability to give her a long-distance slap. Before the thought finished, a loud bang was heard. A polymer beast had completely torn open the hangar doors. Seeing this, Song Ling Shuang gave a cold laugh. The next moment, she directly cranked the rocket thrusters to maximum power. The entire mecha instantly took to the air, followed by a heavy punch smashing down onto the polymer beast's head. The polymer beast was knocked off balance by this punch. However, Song Ling Shuang gave it no chance to get up, controlling the mecha to immediately leap forward, steadily mounting the back of the polymer beast. Then she immediately shouted, "Scimitars, unsheathe." The moment the words fell, two massive scimitars instantly ejected from the black armor, slicing directly toward the polymer beast's head. But just as she was about to strike the polymer beast, in the next instant, the polymer beast's spiked tail stabbed forward at incredible speed. Song Ling Shuang was hit and nearly thrown off. And in that split second, the polymer beast immediately seized the opening and launched a second attack. But at the critical moment, you forcibly intervened, reclaiming control of the mecha. Turning back, you struck the polymer beast with a blade, easily severing its shoulder blade. At this time, a voice came from within the unit. Back armor damaged by 41%. Song Lingshuang froze for a few seconds upon hearing this, then immediately resumed control of the mecha, cleaving down toward the polymer beast's head. However, in the next second, several more polymer beasts that had just finished fusing leaped out of the water. But Song Lingshuang had no intention of retreating at all. Instead, she took a combat stance. Seeing this, you were suddenly on the verge of tears. Where the hell do you get your courage from? But now you couldn't rashly seize control again. Otherwise, before the battle even truly began, the mecha would have its power reactor overloaded and lose control and explode. While you were caught in this dilemma, a call system voice sounded. Ding! Detected that the host has completed the first kill. Purification system activated. Mecha codename, Xingshen. Machine soul level 1. Equipped module, Executioner. Wrist Greatblade, Heavy Artillery, Back Rocket Thrusters. Historical kills have been converted into corresponding evolution points. Current available evolution points, 20,000. Evolution points can be exchanged for rewards in the mall. Hearing the voice in your head, you were suddenly overjoyed. Although this crappy system activated a bit late, at least it was quite generous, actually converting all of Xingshen's past kill records into evolution points. So you immediately opened the mall interface, and without hesitation spent 16,000 evolution points to exchange for two of the mecha's most core components. One was the turbo nuclear reactor, which could not only extend the mecha's lifespan, but also comprehensively improve Xingshen's overall performance. The other was a high-intelligence AI interaction system, which allowed you to communicate with Song Lingshuang on the same frequency.
Exchange successful.
The system will complete the delivery within 10 minutes.
Hearing this,
You couldn't help but complain. Why is there a delivery time? Shouldn't it be installed on me instantly? At this time, the roar of a polymer beast pulled you back to reality. Song Lingshuang controlled you to charge at full speed, locking the mecha cannons onto the eyes. The next moment, the muzzles of the two heavy cannons suddenly opened fire at the polymer beast. Under a round of artillery bombardment, the polymer beast let out a scream and crashed to the ground. Soon the remaining polymer beasts, under the cooperation of you and Song Lingshuang, were all dealt with. At this time, the mecha issued another warning after suffering continuous heavy damage. Severe damage to the unit detected. Please exit immediately using the escape pod. Seeing the mecha's condition, Song Lingshuang had no choice but to control you to head back. But just as you reached the hangar doors, a violent disturbance erupted from the sea behind you again. General Song, in the command center, captured the anomaly immediately. He hurriedly notified Song Lingshuang. Lingshuang, the monitors show a Category 4 Kaiju that you've never seen before. I order you to evacuate them immediately. But after a long silence, Song Lingshuang shook her head. Xingshen and I are the last line of defense for this base. If I evacuate now, everyone in this entire base will become prey for the monsters. I will never retreat. At this moment, you can clearly feel your alloy armor warping and deforming from the high heat. At this rate, in less than 20 minutes, you will be completely dissolved. So, without the slightest hesitation, you tore open the armor outside your cockpit and pulled Song Lingshuang directly from the pilot's seat. Song Lingshuang's eyes widened in shock. How is this possible? But you ignored her reaction and walked toward the sea step by step. Instantly, several massive cooling tanks fell off the machine's body. Steaming mist rose from all around the frame as the heat waves flowed through your torso. After a moment, you charged recklessly at that Category 4 fusion beast. The red-hot blade pierced into the mega fire beast's hard skull. Simultaneously, the fusion beast's 6 thick spiked tails swept across the sea, then slammed violently toward your chest. Although you reacted in time to grab 2 of the spiked tails, the remaining 4 had already sunk into your armor. But you did not fall because of this. Instead, you used your strength to tear off the 2 tails. Following that, you used your wrist blades to suddenly cut off the rest of the beast's spiked tails. Warning, power reactor compromised. Machine body estimated to dissolve in 5 minutes and 43 seconds. The moment the alarm finished, The remaining 3 fusion beasts charged together. Reacting quickly, you protected your waist with your hands. But unfortunately, you still took a heavy blow. The connection between your upper and lower body was now hanging by a thread. Your left arm was reduced to a lonely metal skeleton. But fortunately, the reactor was still running, and you could still control the steel body right ahead. The moment that fusion beast charged again, you slammed your knee upward with full force, instantly smashing its jaw into a pulp. The other fusion beasts pierced through your back with their spiked tails, then burrowed into your malfunctioning reactor. In the blink of an eye, those spiked tails completely melted inside the reactor. Meanwhile, the wrist blade on your right arm had melted by 2/3. It could only withstand one last attack. In the next second, you tightly grabbed a spiked tail that had impaled you, and kept pulling it further through your chest. You were seen clutching the stinger of that tail. Suddenly, you lunged it violently into the head of one of the megacore beasts. Completely disregarding your injuries, you used both arms to grab the neck of the lost megacore beast. At the same time, your hands pried its upper and lower jaws apart, and with a forceful tear, you actually split the megacore beast's head in half. This final blow drained the last bit of energy from your reactor. In an instant, all 7 megacore beasts lay fallen before you. This time, only that still growing fusion entity remained. Currently, the system warnings had long gone silent due to power failure. The last flicker of light in the reactor was fading. In your blurred vision, that new type of fusion beast was about to finish hatching. It was a behemoth 20 meters taller than even you. If it were allowed to hatch successfully, everything would be too late. Thinking of this, you forced your body up, moving forward with great difficulty. The reactor was now dead. You were relying entirely on the residual energy of your melting torso to keep moving. On the other side, Songling Shuang was kneeling on the ground. With tearful eyes, she watched you stagger toward the fusion entity. Finally, you stopped in front of the fusion entity, no longer moving, like a colossus, frozen forever at that moment. In the command center, General Song turned his gaze to the monitors. He stared warily at the cube on the screen, making a split-second decision to deploy half the coastal firepower and open fire on the fusion entity. Though General Song knew this would affect you, he had no other choice at this point. At this critical juncture, the communications officer suddenly covered his headset and shouted excitedly, "Wait, they're back, they're back. It's Crimson Typhoon and Striker." As he spoke in the distance, 2 tall figures were rapidly approaching the fusion entity. Simultaneously, Crimson Typhoon fired 9 missiles from its chest, which blasted directly toward the fusion beast. After a cloud of thick smoke, the fusion beast, dragging its mangled right front limb, emerged from the mist. Its body was covered in green viscous liquid, and its tail hadn't fully extended, but its massive size still shocked everyone in the command center. It had actually forced an interruption of its hatching process, just to resist the missile matrix. Crimson Typhoon, Striker, close in on the target at full speed and attack. As General Song's command fell, in an instant, Crimson Typhoon charged at the fusion beast like a comet. "Brother, for this underdeveloped new species, you don't even need to lift a finger." The person speaking was none other than Meng Changqing, one of Crimson Typhoon's pilots. He had already reached the front of the fusion beast, then delivered a punch straight to its massive head. The impact of this punch was incredibly strong, sending the fusion beast flying on the spot. On the other side, Striker took several large strides to reach the fusion beast, then dragged it up from the sea. At this point, the fusion beast was left with only a slimy body. Its head had been turned into a pulp and scattered into the sea. After a moment, one of Striker's pilots, Liu Zhengshun, finally spoke. No vital signs anymore. No one could survive a punch like that. As he spoke, Meng Changqing flicked his shoulder, brushing off non-existent dust. Save the bragging for after the defense battle. Inside the cockpit of Crimson Typhoon, Meng Changkong glanced at his younger brother, Meng Changqing. The latter obediently shut his mouth. Seeing this, General Song in the command center finally spoke calmly. "Notify all ground forces to cease all fire immediately. Then head to the nearest underground shelters for cover. Await further instructions." Crimson Typhoon, Clear out all Type 2 monsters within the high wall. Striker, help the recovery team pull Xingshan back first. Then join the battle. Clearing small monsters in coastal areas or cities was originally the responsibility of ground forces. If mechas were to use full firepower for clearing, it could likely cause immeasurable losses. So when facing Type 2 monsters, the various factions all prefer using ground troops to wipe them out. But General Song doesn't think that way. He has always believed human lives are more important than economic losses. Zhuang's sky base has an entire, continuous high wall line of defense. Only the hangars and some defensive structures are outside the walls. All other facilities are placed inside the walls. There's also a safe distance between the base and Jinhai City. This is specifically to ensure that during battle, Jinhai City won't be affected as much as possible. Right now, on top of the wall, Red Hurricane's arm has already transformed into a multi-barreled energy cannon. Any Type 2 monster trying to climb the high wall is killed instantly by the high-voltage current covering the armor. On the spot, soon the rain of blue fire in the sky gradually stops. Meng Changqing shows a look of disgust on the wall. So disgusting. Once the battle's over, the first thing I have to do is clean Red Titans. Saying that, he stomps a few Type 2 monsters trying to escape. Immediately, green liquid covers Red Titan's feet. Nearby, Meng Chenkong looks serious and suddenly speaks up. Maybe we won't have the time. On our way back, Leviathan is still firing energy attacks in all directions, continuously. Otherwise, the attack on Xuan's sky wouldn't have lasted this long. We also have to rush to other places. Now the overall number of mechas has clearly decreased. There must be places that need our help. Hearing this, Ming Changqing frowns. So what if Xuan's sky gets attacked again? And is that mecha really Xingshan? If so, then who's piloting it? As I recall, other than the general at the base, there shouldn't be anyone else able to control it. Right then, the raider suddenly appears from behind Red Titans. Xuan's sky. As long as we're here, it seems Song Lingshuang is piloting Xingshan now. When Men Changqing hears this, he can't help but scoff. Come on, man, you're kidding me, right? How could someone so inexperienced pilot a mecha? Half an hour later, inside Zhuang's sky's hangar, your broken body is laid here side by side with the mysterious cube. Aside from a few researchers who surround the black cube, most people are standing in front of your body. Song Lingshuang, meanwhile, lies dejected at your side. After a moment, General Song shifts his gaze from Xingshan and walks toward the group in heated discussion. You say this thing was dropped from Source 1, but the Watchers Alliance and Ring Alliance have never seen eye to eye. The fact that they haven't gone to war is already the best possible outcome. During the preview at Zhuang's Sky, Eden actually airdropped something like this down here. Could it be their industrial technology has already surpassed ours? Hearing this, the lead researcher couldn't help but frown. This is a material we've never seen before. Every surface is so flawless you can't find any blemish. The precision of the workmanship surpasses what I know. As far as I'm aware, the tech the Ring Alliance has simply can't make something of this level. Forgive me for being blunt. General, I don't think this cube could have been made by humans. After the researcher says this, the entire hangar suddenly falls utterly silent. At that moment, Song Lingshuang, off to the side, breaks the silence. You all have been studying a broken pole for so long. Why don't you think about fixing Xingshan instead? A lot of people immediately turn toward the girl, but no one responds. Seeing that, the girl's emotions rise. He's been lying here since you dragged him back. Every one of you here, whose life wasn't saved by Xingshan. Before Song Lingshuang can finish, Meng Changqing suddenly steps out and interrupts, saying, me and my brother, and our two closest friends. None of us had our lives saved by Xingshan. Crazy girl, don't think everyone will indulge you. Right now is not the time to hold a memorial for this old antique.
Hearing this,
Song Lingshuang's eyes instantly shift to Meng Changqing. Facing her gaze, Meng Changqing glares back fiercely without hesitation. As the tension rises, General Song immediately shouts angrily, to break it up. All right, that's enough arguing. Everyone, shut up. Lao Yu, are there any spare Xingshan parts left at the base? Eventually, a middle-aged man slowly walks out from the crowd. There's still one set left. Exactly the same as the ones on Xingshan now. But they're all pretty old by now. Back when Xingshan wasn't decommissioned yet, they were always kept here in the hangar. But General, are you really planning to repair Xingshan? Hearing this, General Song nods slowly. Then bring them out and swap them onto Xingshan. If there's any part still missing, just make a list and report it to me. Lao Yu, you've been at the base with me the longest. You should remember 10 years ago, how we made it through. At that time, everyone saw Xingshan as a hero. Lao, we need a hero. General Song's words stun everyone present. Xingshan is just an outdated first-generation mecha. Spending the budget on a piece of scrap about to be retired is a waste for Zhuan Sky, whose budget is already tight. That's simply wasteful. Yet General Song doesn't care what others think, just issues an indisputable order. Alright, that's settled. Lao Yu, once we're done here, take your team and start the repairs. As for everyone else, focus all your attention on the cube. Then report it up the chain to Omega Complex according to procedure. Let's see what results they come up with. Chief Technology Officer Hua Luo obviously looks reluctant, because everyone knows that Omega has always looked down on frontline researchers. The status gap between them is enormous. Still, this is too important. Now is not the time for personal grudges. Just as the CTO was about to move the cube to the lab, Song Lingshuang suddenly speaks to stop him. This thing is connected to Xingshan. At that moment, he's holding a broken Xingshan support pillar. Seeing this, Meng Changqing can't stand the nonsense anymore and disregards appearances, shouting angrily, "What kind of nonsense are you spouting this time? There's not even Xingshan's name carved on the cube. Which of your eyes saw that it's related to Xingshan?" But Song Lingshuang wasn't lying, because when he just picked up that support pillar, there was a faint pull in his palm, and the force was coming from the cube. Song Lingshuang then walks straight to within 2 meters of the cube. During the whole process, the support pillar in Song Lingshuang's hand grows more and more unsettled. The moment he loses control and lets go, the broken support pillar shoots towards the cube like a magnet, flying toward the cube. A second later, blue light suddenly bursts out from the black cube. Seeing the situation turn bad, the general immediately ordered everyone to find cover. Get down. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone present immediately hid behind cover. On the other side, where the light passed, the mysterious material, originally seamless, actually started separating to both sides in geometric shapes. The next moment, a strange buzzing sound echoed through the hangar. Then, the cube disintegrated into countless tiny geometric shapes, then swarmed into the hollow in your chest like a swarm of insects. In the blink of an eye, a massive black sphere formed in your chest, quickly sprawling countless intricate structures, ultimately fusing the sphere to what remained of your body. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. The black sphere became completely motionless. Only then did people slowly exit their cover. After that, beside your remains, when everyone approached, they finally realized, during the fusing process with you, the black sphere morphed again and ended up in the shape of a turbine nuclear reactor. Seeing this scene, General Song's expression was extremely serious. Contact the Omega Science Complex. Have them send people immediately. Old you, pause all repair plans for now. If this reactor is a parasitic thing attached to Xingshan, the consequences could be unimaginable. Let's hang Xingshan up for now. See if the reactor can be separated. If separation succeeds, then keep Xingshan as far away from this thing as possible, and immediately start repairs. Don't let it have any more opportunities. As soon as he finished, Old Yu respectfully saluted General Song, then turned and left. After a moment, General Song turned to Song Lingshuang and spoke angrily. As for you, Song Lingshuang, you disobeyed orders on the battlefield. Did you consider the consequences? You did save everyone, but that does not justify insubordination. As punishment, I am temporarily stripping you of your Iron Jade status and sentencing you to 1 week of reflection in the brig. If your attitude is still the same by then, your name will be removed from the Legion of Black Skies. Is that clear? Upon hearing this, Song Lingshuang met the general's eyes fearlessly. I understand. I'm willing to accept the punishment, but I don't regret my decision. Meanwhile, inside the Black Sky's repair bay, a restless roar suddenly erupted from Red Hurricane's palm. He was standing in front of Xingshen's ruined body, at the same time, holding a freshly ignited plasma-cutting sword. With steam rising in the air, it wrapped around the restless blade. The tip of the sword slowly stabbed toward the black reactor on Xingshen's chest. There was no sound, no sparks. The blade just calmly pressed against the reactor's outer shell. In the control room on the other side, Dr. Chris anxiously rubbed his forehead. The blonde lady standing beside him sighed as well. Doing this is a waste of time. Meng Chankong immediately pulled the Tai sword away from the reactor's outer shell. If this keeps up, not only could the TA sword shatter, but even Red Hurricane's arm might break. Contact General Song right now.
10 minutes later.
General Song arrived at the control room with his team. Xingshen is an old custom mech. The design back then was still immature, so it requires manual connection to the mech system. The nuclear reactor is being started via electric ignition, General Song explained to Chris and his companion. Upon seeing this, Chris showed a polite smile. I didn't realize the general knew so much about mechs. Nina and I might stay at Profound Heaven for a while longer. We'll have to trouble the general for your hospitality. Hearing this, General Song responded with a smile. Of course, Profound Heaven hasn't had guests in a long time. If there is anything unsatisfactory in our hospitality, I hope you both will understand. Inside the observation window at this moment, dozens of cables had been connected to your mangled remains. Old you stood in front of the lift, constantly debugging the power supply efficiency. Then, when he pulled down the lever used to initiate the ignition sequence, the previously dim cables immediately flashed with white light. The sound of mechanical rotation gradually rose, while the black reactor also began to brighten. Just as everyone thought everything was going smoothly, the system suddenly issued a warning. At the critical moment, Old, you saw a faint white light flickering on your chest. That was your backup visual module. In the next instant, in his mind, images of you acting autonomously emerged. Could Xingtian be alive? Meanwhile, in the confinement room, Song Lingshuang was handcuffed, hugging her knees with both arms. Solitary confinement was no big deal to her at all. Being a loner was her signature trait, but Song Lingshuang was still very sad. Whenever she closed her eyes, her mind was filled with the scenes of your final battle. And as the pilot, she could only watch it all from afar in the hangar. If it weren't for me, Xingtian wouldn't have ended up like this today. If only during the simulation training, I had been a little more careful. While Song Lingshuang was repenting in secret, the door to the confinement room was suddenly opened from the outside. 3 fully armed guards appeared, holding electric batons, and immediately surrounded the girl sitting on the floor. General Song wants you to go to the hangar to see him right now. He says it's about Xingtian. Please get up and come with us immediately. Hearing those words, Song Lingshuang's eyes lit up. She stood up immediately, and soon followed the guards, hurrying toward the hangar, jogging all the way. It took nearly 10 minutes to reach the hangar. As soon as she entered the door, Song Lingshuang rushed straight to the observation window, her hands pressed tightly against the glass. Although Xingtian was still in a broken state, the reactor in his chest was running at full speed. What did you do to him? This was the scene Song Lingshuang least wanted to see. However, General Song did not intend to let Song Lingshuang continue, so he hurried the technicians to summarize the current situation. During the ignition process of Xingtian's reactor, an unknown error occurred, causing the main control system of Profound Heaven to be hacked. Now, the power of the entire base is being drawn by Xingtian's reactor. If this continues, Profound Heaven's power system will collapse in less than half an hour. Once the power system collapses, the fully automated CNC cannons covering the base will all be disabled. Furthermore, some of our power pipelines are connected to Zhenhai City. It's very likely Xingtian will follow the pipes and continue to drain power from Zhenhai City. He even transformed the cables into the same material as the reactor. Currently, the cables cannot be unplugged. Even a thermal sword can't cut through them. So what can I do? Facing Song Lingshuang's question, the technician suddenly hesitated. In the end, it was Dr. Chris who took over the conversation. The base's central control system is now completely jammed. We can't change the circuits through digital means, nor can we manually cut the power in such a short time. From the last log sent back before the system crash, the intrusion signal is coming from Xing Tian. We need someone to establish neural synchronization with him to solve the problem from the inside. This isn't a simple neural synchronization. Xing Tian has no intelligence system at all. Yet the intrusion signal is coming from him. This means there's something wrong with that reactor. He might possess self-awareness. And you are the best candidate. So, Song Lingshuang's reaction was so calm that it exceeded everyone's expectations. The technician pointed at Xing Tian outside the window. Do you think this is the only danger? Open your eyes and look at him. Xing Tian is already a wreck. His system is currently in a state of collapse. Once you establish neural synchronization with him, your brain might experience consciousness drift. Your mind will be trapped forever in a fragmented illusion. Do you know how the test pilots for the Savior Mechs died? When the system was unstable, they forced a connection with the Mechs. As a result, they both fell into a delirious dreamscape. By the time they were disconnected, they had already been declared brain dead. The technician continued to talk about the dangers involved, but he found that Song Lingshuang was completely unmoved. Everyone in the control room knew about this potential risk, but he was the only one who told Song Lingshuang. Seeing the conversation end, General Song ordered the guards to unlock Song Lingshuang's handcuffs. Under everyone's gaze, Song Lingshuang sat in the chair without hesitation. Then she picked up the helmet only used during training. Before Song Lingshuang put on the helmet, she suddenly smiled at the young technician. "Thank you, but this is my own choice." After saying this, Song Lingshuang resolutely put the helmet on her head. Parameter calibration complete. Are you ready? Hearing this, Song Lingshuang nodded. In the next moment, a vast white light suddenly exploded before Song Lingshuang's eyes, instantly swallowing everything in her vision. Infinitely overlapping currents, like ice needles, pierced through her eardrums, until she lost her sense of hearing. For a moment, Song Lingshuang couldn't feel her limbs, and even her brain forgot how to drive her body. In a daze, Song Lingshuang saw a little girl in a white dress. The girl's hands were a bloody mess, and not a single intact fingernail could be seen. White hair falling over her shoulders hid the girl's pale face, while tears sliding down her chin kept hitting the gravel and blood beneath her knees. Song Lingshuang saw the girl's mouth moving, trying to say something, but in the end the girl couldn't make any sound. She just kept digging in front of a collapsed building, like a madman who had lost her mind. Song Lingshuang stood beside the girl, watching the sun slowly set on the distant horizon. Finally, the girl could no longer hold on. Her swollen eyes overflowed again. Cloudy tears filled with wandering, bloodshot streaks. She wanted to scream, wanted to call out, but her throat couldn't produce any sound. In the next moment, Song Lingshuang walked slowly to the girl's side and took her bloody hand. Suddenly, the girl cried out in a hoarse voice, "Mom is gone. Why didn't Dad protect us?" At that moment, Song Lingshuang instinctively pulled the girl into her arms. He was under military orders. He had to protect more people. That was an order. It couldn't be disobeyed. As she finished speaking, the girl wrapped her arms around Song Lingshuang's neck. Then she broke down and cried her heart out in his arms. At this point, Song Lingshuang couldn't even remember the last time she called out Dad. She simply couldn't recall when it was. But compared to calling him father, Song Lingshuang still preferred, like everyone else, to call him General Song. So many years had passed. He had long come to understand the difficult choice his father faced then. A mech torn in two directions, or two cities attacked at the same time. Who should be blamed? And just as this thought crossed Song Lingshuang's mind, everything before her eyes vanished in an instant. Ruined skyscrapers and her past self, all were replaced by an intense feeling of weightlessness. The next moment, Song Lingshuang was falling into a pure white abyss. When she landed again, she realized she wasn't shattered like she'd feared. Instead, she was standing firmly, as if on solid ground. The laws of physics didn't seem to apply in this place. Not like in reality. She figured she had just experienced what they call chasing the rabbit. So-called chasing the rabbit actually refers to a plot borrowed from a certain fairy tale. The protagonist, chasing a talking rabbit, eventually falls into a wondrous underground world. When mecha pilots conduct neural sync, chasing the rabbit is used as a metaphor for those situations where the pilot hasn't cleared their mind beforehand, and as a result, wild thoughts lead to a sync failure. The ultimate form of chasing the rabbit, then, is when the pilot falls into a specific memory in their subconscious and ends up losing themselves. But in theory, this shouldn't be possible at all. For either Xingchen or Songlin Shuang, neural sync comes in two forms: syncing with a mecha, or two pilots syncing with each other. The first type is relatively easy, since a mecha is just a steel shell. As long as the mech's processing load doesn't exceed the pilot's mental capacity, their sync rate usually doesn't fall below 80%. But human-to-human neural sync is much harder. It's like directly inserting another mind into your brain. That means both sides have to be completely open with each other and let their bodies adapt and accept commands from the other consciousness. Even if both are truly that honest with each other, their sync rate still might not be good enough. People can't control their subconscious mental defenses, things like intermittent amnesia or mania. A more severe case of the syndrome could even lead to split personality in the pilot. That's why those who pilot dual mech units are usually people who are close to each other. But Xingchen is a single pilot mech, so even if chasing the bunny occurs, at most it would only lead to a lower sync rate between him and Xingchen, not getting trapped in memories, or losing oneself completely. A mech can't carry a person's subconscious or memories. Only another living mind can accommodate brain consciousness activity. Are you saying Xingchen really has self-awareness? So am I inside Xingchen's consciousness space right now? When Song Lingshuang realized this, everything around him started changing again. At that moment, Song Lingshuang was standing in the black-hued hangar of the heavens. Everything here was exactly the same as in reality. The only difference was that Song Lingshuang was the only one here. The rush of waves suddenly echoed in his ears. He spun around abruptly and saw that the hangar doors were actually open. At the same time, a strong sense of unease welled up in Song Lingshuang. He sprinted all the way, squeezing through the opening. In no time, he reached the vast platform outside the hangar, stretching for thousands of meters. There Song Lingshuang saw a scene he'd never forget for the rest of his life. Under a blood-red sky, Xingchen, painted all black, stood in the distance. Countless severed limbs floated on the ocean. Across the sea, the bodies of innumerable monsters piled up endlessly like mountains. At Xingchen's feet, there was a blindingly red mech. Song Lingshuang immediately recognized it as the Red Hurricane. This once mighty third-generation mech had now been torn apart into a pile of scrap metal. And as Song Lingshuang was lost in thought and looked back again, he realized that the distant city of Zhenhai had become nothing but ruins. Why? Is this the world imagined in Xingchen's subconscious? But just as Song Lingshuang wondered this,
he actually heard a clear answer.
Monsters are my enemies, and so are you. The one who spoke was none other than you, standing tall amid the emerald ocean. Hearing this, Song Lingshuang already guessed the answer. So you're the one who killed everyone? After a while, your voice echoed again across the sea. That's right, it was me. I burned through every last drop of my blood on the battlefield. But how did you treat me? Saying that, you suddenly began striding towards Song Lingshuang. At the same time, your gleaming armor suddenly started aging rapidly. Countless battle scars appeared, branding themselves in plain sight. In an instant, one of your iron arms broke off, falling silent as a massive tombstone into the green ocean below. Next was your other arm, and then your head, legs, and waist. By the time you stood before Song Lingshuang, your body was already shattered, with only the black power core left in your torso, still running ceaselessly. This is the ending I can foresee. You are my enemies too. Just as your voice fell, Song Lingshuang's body was gripped by a gigantic hand. As your grip tightened, for a moment Song Lingshuang couldn't make a sound. But his lips still moved. In the next instant, Song Lingshuang's body exploded. In the blink of an eye, Song Lingshuang realized he was now in a warm, cozy room. He lay bleeding on white tiles, his messy white hair covering his fading red eyes. Outside the window, green trees were in full bloom. Bright sunlight fell on a blue desk. There was also a young man whom Song Lingshuang found familiar, leaning against a white wall. Even though he had never seen this young man before, somehow his instincts told him that this person before him was you. Song Lingshuang slowly walked over to you. At the same time, his voice shook, as he spoke with a sob in his tone. I'm sorry. This is the punishment I deserve. But the others did nothing wrong. They only wanted to save you.
Hearing this,
You gazed at Song Lingshuang with abyss-like eyes, and aimed the burning sword at my power core. You call that saving me? In the next moment, tears filled Song Lingshuang's eyes. We didn't know that was a part of you. We thought it was parasitic, that's why we wanted to remove it. Then, a barely noticeable glimmer flashed in your eyes. A loner called a madman by others. Why should I believe you? Song Lingshuang realized. Your chasing the bunny came from self-hatred. If, within the chasing the bunny, your wish could be granted, maybe you could regain your sanity. Of course, that would mean my consciousness would be severely damaged, and I'd be lost in this space forever. After thinking through everything, Song Lingshuang spoke calmly. I have no one to vouch for me, but you can look through my memories, or just kill me. Just as Song Lingshuang was about to close his eyes, the space changed once more. But this time, the transformation was even more violent, as the first crack appeared in the air outside the window. The sound of countless shattering glass echoed one after another. The whole space seemed like a mirror being smashed apart, finally dissolving into a sky full of scattered stars. Now the two stood in a space of pure white. Soul Link successful. Welcome to the evolution system. Mech log search in progress. Less than a minute after the system announcement ended, your mind was suddenly flooded with everything that had happened recently, including inside chasing the bunny, everything that happened between you and Song Lingshuang. At the moment, your power core is absorbing all the electricity from the entire base. But right now, you can't sense the existence of the power core at all, nor control it, since you've lost the sensory link to your mech. The power core has only been running on its own under the AI system ever since it was installed. Autonomous Operation System check. The key issue is in the state of the mech. Because the mech was dissected by Dr. Chris, the experimental AI system immediately treated the entire Heavens base as a hostile unit, which triggered the mech soul defense mechanism. That's also the main source of hatred in your chasing the bunny. There are two ways to restore the link. First, repair the mech to more than 50% integrity. Second, take your consciousness out of the unit and connect it externally. Only these two ways will the sensory link be restored automatically. The first way is clearly too late. After all, the entire Heaven's electrical system has crashed. After considering all this, you explained the situation to Song Lingshuang. So the only way now is for you to carry my consciousness out with a data storage device and reconnect me to my body from the outside. For both of us, the risk is very high. The whole process only allows for 10 seconds. If we go over the time limit, you'll disappear from this world. Song Lingshuang quickly made his decision. Specifically, what should I do? Although he doesn't understand such abstract instructions, it doesn't stop him from following the steps. Seeing this, you start to explain step by step. First, I need you to forcibly disconnect neural synchronization. Like this. There will be a brief residual link between us. Then, find an interface that can connect to the base's main control system. Next, plug the interactor into it. Finally, just wait for me to reconnect to the body. But I have to warn you, forcibly disconnecting neural synchronization will seriously impact your brain's nerves. Mild cases may cause dizziness, vomiting, or temporary ringing in your ears. Severe cases could result in coma, shock, or hippocampal damage. Have you made up your mind? Hearing this, Song Lingshuang took a deep breath, trying to appear more relaxed. Do you trust me? At these words, you nodded blankly. 32 at the beginning. As soon as you finished speaking, Song Lingshuang and you disappeared from the space at the same time. The familiar alarm sounded in his ears once again. As soon as Song Lingshuang's consciousness returned to his body, the intense stress response was even stronger than he expected.
he felt his brain matter was being constantly churned.
Amid intense dizziness and headache, Song Lingshuang managed to pull out the interactor located on the back of the helmet. Then, bracing his body,
He struggled to stand up, swaying.
At this moment, he had already wasted 3 seconds. What are you doing? Is the problem solved? Song Ling Shuang could faintly hear Dr. Chris questioning him, but he simply had no time to respond. The smart terminal's interface was just a step away from him. He had 4 seconds left. Song Ling Shuang had just lifted his left foot when his body lost balance, and he fell forward. At that moment, the technician who instructed him rushed over, and in an instant, caught Song Ling Shuang as he was about to fall. 2 seconds left. In the end, Song Ling Shuang used all his strength to plug the interactor into the interface. After completing this final action, Song Ling Shuang completely passed out. Time ticked by second after second. The alarm still echoed within the high walls. Beneath the night sky, the entire dark sky looked like a gradually dying flame. At this moment inside the command center, Dr. Chris was the first to break the suffocating atmosphere. Why is Xingshen still drawing energy? What the hell is he up to? First, he forcibly disconnects neural synchronization. Then, without saying a word, plugs in the interactor. Speaking at the interface, he shot a glare at Song Ling Shuang, who was lying unconscious in the chair. Just wait a little longer. General Song stopped Dr. Chris from venting his frustration, then quietly looked at the clock on the wall. 2 minutes left. The entire base will fall into complete darkness. By now, you've already restored your sensory link successfully. This is only the beginning of another nightmare. The moment you are reunited with Xingshen, your consciousness experiences sensory distortion. And once again, you find yourself chasing the little rabbit. This time, the scene is on Earth. But you return in the form of a steel body. The world instantly erupts in chaos. Everyone is wildly discussing this unbelievable event. Because you are a mech with a human mind, everyone keeps a respectful distance from you. Even mischievous children throw stones at you. And so, you walk alone for a long distance. Finally, you arrive at that familiar city, and you find that familiar doorway. But your hand still hesitates before the door. Ultimately, you don't knock. You sadly look at the blessing character stuck on the door, glancing over it repeatedly, and finally descend the stairs in a daze. Just as you reach the entrance of the building, you unexpectedly run into the person you want to see but are afraid to meet. In the next moment, your white-haired mother drops everything in her hands, suddenly runs over and hugs your cold metal body. Your father quietly takes off his glasses to the side, then wipes tears from the corners of his eyes with his hand. Son, welcome home. Suddenly you jolt awake from the memory, as a constant barrage of questioning fills your mind. What are you? Are you a mech soul? Are you Xingshen? Are these really you? After a moment, you firmly refute them. No matter what I become, I'll always be fish. The questioning voices fade away. In an instant, all the fragments merge into one, and then transform into a floating, human-shaped white mist. Then, you are engulfed by a dazzling white light. On the other side, Dr. Chris is about to forcibly wake Song Ling Shuang. Suddenly, the piercing alarm abruptly stops. The main control system has returned to normal. The power system is also gradually resuming operation. Xingshen's power core is back to normal levels, except that deep system log data is inaccessible. All documents have been encrypted by an unknown algorithm. Everything else is functioning properly. We did it! The technicians happily look at the data panel. Dr. Chris, however, says dismissively, Xingshen is still hanging there. Something could go wrong at any moment. I have to figure out what exactly that girl experienced during the neural sync, and why Xingshen started up on its own. Before Chris could take action, Old Yu stepped forward, because it's possible that Xingshen has self-awareness. Yes, that's already been indicated in previous simulated battle logs. The problem isn't Xingshen, it's the power core. Previously, didn't you guys try separating the power core? And the result? This left Dr. Chris speechless, as if mocking his and his assistant's incompetence. Seeing this, Dr. Chris clenched his fists. So, according to you, a mech can actually become a living being like a human? Then its research value must be enough to revolutionize all human technology. Alright, that's enough for today's farce. General Song, please have Xingshen's body packed up tonight. We'll take him back to headquarters for research first thing tomorrow morning. Saying this, Chris put his arm around Nina's shoulders, and the two walked to the door under everyone's gaze. But General Song's words left them both standing there, stunned. Sorry, Dr. Chris. I can't let you take Xingshen. On hearing this, Chris became furious. General Song, don't forget. According to the Watchers League's functional division, the Omega Research Complex has first rights to any undiscovered objects and technology samples. But General Song still looked serious as he replied. Before I came to the control room, I just received a briefing from the United Front base. They were attacked by a beast tide from the Storm Sea. The Golden Gate and Red Fortress were also attacked. But the United Front suffered the largest scale attack. The coastal defense line has collapsed entirely. Everyone is retreating inward. That's why I came to the control room myself. The Shangyun dragon boat will arrive at Zenith in half an hour. The Red Hurricane will be deployed to Lichuan City to help resist the beast tide. But this will result in Zenith's defense level decreasing significantly. I won't waste any combat power. If Xingshen's chest power core is fine, then he can keep fighting. At these words, the air around them grew tense. Are you insane? You want to send him into battle with that alien power core? He was able to drain the base's entire power supply 1 second. He could aim his weapons at you all in the next. Dr. Chris said this, trembling. But General Song calmly continued. I don't know if Xingshen will have issues later, but I believe Song Lingshuang's words. As long as Xingshen stands with us,
He remains a member of Zenith.
and not just some undiscovered object as you call him. These words were firm and unequivocal, leaving no room for doubt. A bunch of lunatics. We're going back to headquarters to report this now. I hope you don't regret what you've said today. Chris and Nina stormed out the door, while General Song didn't even look back. General, is what you said true? Once the footsteps faded in the corridor, the adjutant hesitantly asked the question. But General Song just glanced over. Do I look like I'm joking? Notify all mecha maintenance teams. Reassemble Xingshen as quickly as possible now. Everyone else, return to your posts immediately. The base is now at level 2 combat readiness. We need to be ready for an attack at any time. And once Song Lingshuang wakes up, have him come to my office. With that, General Song quickly left the control room. 30 minutes later, on the top floor of Zenith, you still want to pilot Xingshen, don't you? General Song didn't sit in the seat that symbolizes supreme command, but chose to sit on the sofa with Song Lingshuang. Xingshen is alive. He doesn't need a pilot. Song Lingshuang admitted this fact, even though it meant losing his mech. Yet, General Song replied with a surprising answer. Then you'll temporarily serve as Xingshen's pilot. I trust what you say, but you have no proof that Xingshen is safe. So until then, I have to add a safeguard. You're the only one who understands Xingshen's thoughts, so you'll be his guarantor for now. After a moment, Song Lingshuang replied, All right, I agree. General Song smiled calmly. I knew you'd say yes. Get ready now. I have a mission for you. Xingshen can't fight these monsters as he is now. So, I want you to take him to Silent Graveyard for an upgrade. Ever since Xingshen was reassembled in Zenith, Song Lingshuang learned from you about the autopilot function. In short, for some simple operations, you can do them for Song Lingshuang. However, presently, it's actually not you controlling Xingshen. It's the holographic intelligent AI system you ordered online that's driving instead. Just as you're pondering, Song Lingshuang in the cockpit suddenly complained, Why does the Red Hurricane get to ride the dragon boat, while we have to walk on our own? You can only sigh helplessly at this. Because we're just scavenging at Silent Graveyard, while they're heading on an expedition. Silent Graveyard, to put it plainly, is just a mecha scrapyard. Mechs damaged for various reasons are sent there by nations for dismantling and recycling. Hearing what you said, Song Lingshuang didn't argue further, because only he knows that this time the upgrade uses Zenith's life-saving money. When Song Lingshuang was speaking privately with General Chen, he learned that currently, Zhuan's Kankyong is under enormous pressure. Recently, Zhuan's Kankyong is facing a severe financial crisis. If Song Xingshen goes to the war factory for a standard upgrade, Zhuan's Kankyong will go bankrupt next month. So General Song took an alternative approach. He placed an order with Silent Graveyard for a complete set of third-generation mech parts. Although not as good as a standard upgrade from the war factory, it's enough to raise Xingshen's combat ability by several levels. Silent Graveyard used to be managed by our cores, but after it was outsourced, according to the agreement, we only get a bit of a discount when we buy things. We can't just take things for free. As she spoke, Song Lingshuang couldn't help but purse her lips. But you didn't respond, just turned your head to look at the other side of the sea. Seeing this, Song Lingshuang instantly tensed up and was ready to control Xingshen at any time, to dodge any potential danger. Is there something wrong?
His gaze
Swept across the floating holographic interface, as the ripples on the radar spread outward from Xingshen as the center. Song Lingshuang felt even more puzzled. The energy radar hasn't detected any threats. After a while, you slowly spoke. The wind has changed. Hearing that, Song Lingshuang's face instantly turned black. I think your brain got blown silly by the wind. This is the seaside. It would be weird if there wasn't any wind. Song Lingshuang couldn't be bothered to deal with your neurosis, so she just disengaged the safety switch and kept controlling Xingshen on the road. You didn't argue with Song Lingshuang any further either. Just to be safe, you immediately opened the store page. Your original plan was to upgrade its Silent Graveyard and patch up any problems afterward.
But now,
You have to make sure there are no mishaps on the way. Redemption successful. Thank you for your purchase. That should be safe enough now. Unconsciously, the two of you had already approached your destination. Warm-toned lights gradually filled your field of vision. Towering walls, with several tall towers rising up inside. Seeing this scene, Song Lingshuang couldn't help but widen her eyes. Is this a marketplace or a junkyard? It's his first time visiting Silent Graveyard. Originally,
he thought it would be a gigantic garbage dump piled with junk.
but everything actually looks neat and orderly, and even a bit prosperous. Just as you both approached Silent Graveyard, the port workers, upon seeing you two, all ran inside the walls at once. Before you could even enter, all the turrets were already aimed at you. Stop, or we'll open fire immediately. State your ID number and information. State the purpose of your visit. From the comms equipment. The other party's tone was extremely wary. Seeing that, Song Lingshuang immediately stopped. TO1 Mech, Xingshen pilot Song Lingshuang. Affiliated with former Zhuan's Kenkyong base. I'm here to upgrade my mech. Didn't General Song notify you in advance? On the other end, the comm was silent for a moment. Seemed like they were verifying the authenticity of the information. After a while, the comms came alive again. There's a problem with your pilot information. Please wait where you are. We will further confirm with Zhuan's Kenkyong. Hearing this, Song Lingshuang couldn't help but clench her fists. Pilot credentials are her most sensitive issue. Even though she already has General Song's permission, Song Lingshuang still hasn't completed her Iron Jade certification. That means, once she's out of Zhuan's Kenkyong, no one will acknowledge her as Iron Jade. Meng Changqing calls her a half-baked rookie, because she never studied at the Iron Jade Academy. She doesn't even have registered student status. Her piloting skills are all from simulation training. But compared to what they teach at the Iron Jade Academy, what Song Lingshuang has learned is only a fraction. During this minute of waiting, Song Lingshuang was like a student who got a perfect score, but is being suspected of cheating, standing in the hallway waiting for the teacher to judge. Once Silent Graveyard finished verifying their info, all the gun barrels aimed at you slowly turned away. The next moment, the comms broadcast a message again. Information verified. You are cleared to enter. Please proceed to Hangar 4 and dock your mech. Soon, Song Lingshuang followed the drone's guidance, docked Xingshen at Hangar 4, and followed the guide alone to the elevator. But in fact, the connection between you and Song Lingshuang still existed. Ever since the last forced neural sync break between you two, a strange but faint sense of link was established. This link doesn't require any device to maintain. Both parties can sense each other's presence, but compared to this weak connection, both of you chose the more convenient comlink. Song Lingshuang's communicator was stuck to his neck, combining both mic and receiver. In the reception room at this moment, a middle-aged man in gold-rimmed glasses came up to greet them. Welcome, welcome. Little Song, come sit here. General Song only told me you'd reserved an upgrade. He didn't specify what mech it was for. If I'd known it was for an old acquaintance. Before the war began, I invited him to my company as a military advisor. At that, Song Ling Shuang, a step slow, thanked him. Then she listened with her teacup to the man reminiscing. At the other end of the com, you could clearly feel your connection to Song Ling Shuang starting to fade, as if she completely forgot about you. Then, in the next moment, the lights in the hangar suddenly went out. Inside the lounge now, the clock on the wall suddenly chimed, suddenly interrupting the man just as he was getting to the climax of his story. Oh dear, I totally forgot. Little Song, you came here overnight. As he spoke, the man quickly called his secretary over. Quick, get Little Song a better room. Let him get some proper sleep. This meticulous hospitality made Song Ling Shuang momentarily unsure how to refuse. Just then, the communicator on Song Ling Shuang's neck suddenly sparked a jolt of electricity. That jolt snapped Song Ling Shuang awake and quickly made him notice his odd mental state. On the other end of the comm, you found your link with Song Ling Shuang was restored, which meant he'd started paying attention to you again. So you immediately stated your situation. They locked the hangar doors from the inside. Song Ling Shuang instantly realized this wasn't right and instantly returned to his usual guarded expression. No need, I don't need to rest. Song Ling Shuang's voice was icy, instantly dropping the temperature in the room. But the man still kept his caring smile. Walking here from Zhuan's Kangkyong must have taken at least half a day. Little Song, if you're not tired, just wait in your room for now. Sir, I'll find you the best massage therapist. Let your body fully relax. The secretary on the side tried to smooth things over. Miss Song, boss, he's just concerned about you. Just as those words were spoken, he turned, trying to take Song Ling Shuang's hand. But unexpectedly, Song Ling Shuang directly slapped his hand away. Then she asked, Xingshan, when will I be able to vent my anger? The middle-aged man didn't answer Song Ling Shuang's question directly. Instead, he laughed heartily. Looks like not everyone knows how to enjoy such good tea. It's truly a pity not to drink it. He then picked up the teacup Song Ling Shuang hadn't touched. After that, he poured the cooled tea into the teapot. No wonder I smelled the intoxicating tea aroma as soon as I entered. It was from that moment on, my mind became hazy. I didn't know what I was doing. When Song Ling Shuang finally realized what was happening, she kicked the tea table toward the middle-aged man. But just before Song Ling Shuang put her full strength into the kick, the secretary standing beside her grabbed her arm. The overturned tea table changed direction in the end, and then crashed into the display case filled with porcelain nearby. Take your hand off me. As soon as she said that, Song Ling Shuang grabbed the other person's arm in return. Then, with a strong pull, dragged the person toward herself. Seeing Song Ling Shuang's fist about to land on her, the secretary suddenly bent down, and then raised her long leg aiming at Song Ling Shuang's head. Seeing this, Song Ling Shuang forcefully pulled her arm back and dodged sideways to avoid the kick. But the other person had no intention of stopping. After the first kick missed, she immediately spun and launched a second kick. Song Ling Shuang had no time to react otherwise, so she could only keep dodging. After several rounds, the host had already cornered Song Ling Shuang. Where are you going to hide this time?
He raised his long right leg
And kicked fiercely towards Song Ling Shuang. Fortunately, during the previous collision, Song Ling Shuang had quickly analyzed the opponent's fighting style and had already formulated a counter tactic. Underestimating the enemy is the one mistake that should never be made in battle. In fact, he was fully capable of launching a counterattack earlier, but he chose to present a weakness instead. And now the time had come. Suddenly, Song Ling Shuang's entire body tensed up. The moment the secretary raised his foot, he dodged backward in advance. In the next second, Song Ling Shuang abruptly raised his left leg, and with even greater speed, caught up with the secretary's leg that had not yet landed. By the time the opponent reacted, it was already too late. Song Ling Shuang's leg slammed violently against the back of the right leg that had missed its mark. A crisp sound of bone cracking rang out. The secretary's body instantly lost balance, and he collapsed to the floor. To be on the safe side, Song Ling Shuang kicked the back of the secretary's knee, directly eliminating any possibility of the opponent continuing the fight. Of course, given Song Ling Shuang's usual style, the opponent might have trouble even walking for the rest of his life. At this moment, the secretary was lying on the floor, clutching his knee with both hands, wailing incessantly. Seeing this, Song Ling Shuang stepped directly over the man and walked step by step toward the middle-aged man. Your turn. Facing the closing Song Ling Shuang. The smile on the middle-aged man's face had long since vanished, replaced by a cold, detached fury. Song Ling Shuang picked up the fire tongs from the fireplace and headed straight for the middle-aged man, just as the two were less than 5 paces apart. The elevator behind Song Ling Shuang suddenly opened. A squad of fully armed soldiers poured out of the elevator, quickly surrounding Song Ling Shuang. The equipment of these soldiers was exceptionally luxurious. Everyone was wearing an exoskeleton emblazoned with a scorpion mark, and they were all wielding energy weapons. Standing beside the middle-aged man was a burly woman. Her features were distinctly from the Western continent, giving her a very heroic appearance. But what caught Song Ling Shuang's attention was the scorpion tail tattoo on her neck. At that moment, the woman glanced at the secretary lying on the floor, then raised an eyebrow at Song Ling Shuang. Yo, little girl, you've got some skills. I don't like him either, but I didn't move against him. The next moment, the middle-aged man sharply interrupted. Scorpion, mind the occasion. The woman called Scorpion could only cooperatively take a step back. At this time, the middle-aged man leisurely walked over to Song Ling Shuang and casually took the fire tongs from Song Ling Shuang's hand. If it weren't for General Song's sake, I could have thrown you into the sea to feed the fish.
No.
You should be willing to listen to a few more words of my nonsense, right? Over a decade ago, you would have called me Uncle Gao when you saw me, but you were young back then. It's normal that you don't remember me. Seeing you always reminds me of the old days. Out of respect for being an old friend's daughter, I wanted to settle this peacefully, but now it seems I was overthinking. You're nothing like General Song. You don't even know how to deal with people. At this point, Uncle Gao turned to look at Song Ling Shuang, who clearly wasn't listening to a word he said. Are you finished? If by dealing with people you mean drugging tea and impounding someone's mecha, then I indeed can't learn it. Song Ling Shuang's expression looked as if she had heard similar words countless times. Uncle Gao laughed, his gaze toward Song Ling Shuang filled with a hint of lament. I'll be straight with you. The shipment you reserved is gone. If you were at the dinner table 2 days from now, discussing this with me, perhaps your mood would be much better than it is now. Saying this, Uncle Gao poured himself a cup of tea. I didn't drug the tea. Dragon's Fang is a tea that needs to be savored repeatedly. For those experiencing Dragon's Fang for the first time, tea drunkenness is a perfectly normal reaction. Song Ling Shuang clenched her fist tightly, staring directly at him. So, where is the cargo? Hearing this, Uncle Gao set down his teacup, his smile fading. A rare treasure goes to the highest bidder. Of the first-generation mechas, none survived except Xingshen. The second-generation mechas were all buried in the Silverless Sea. Third-generation mechas are seen as the strongest force by all alliance nations. They are few in number and priceless even if you have the money. When General Song made the reservation, I did intend to sell them to you. Unfortunately, this shipment was targeted by a buyer I can't afford to offend. Ultimately, the responsibility lies with me. So, I have prepared a set of near-new second-generation mecha, and will give it to you at cost. The extra money will be fully refunded. Well, from a cost perspective, this plan is at least half as cheap as the original one. Furthermore, Dark Sky can only make a decision within this proposal. Aside from accepting or refusing, there are no other options. But Song Ling Shuang didn't see it that way. She continued to ask who the buyer was. She came here to get the best upgrade for Xingshen, not to choose from defective products given after the other party breached the contract. Hearing this, Uncle Gao shook his head slightly. No comment. I advise you to give up on that. I intended for you to stay here comfortably for 2 days, then let you contact General Song yourself to consider my proposal. Now it seems that won't be necessary. Let me discuss it with General Song instead. After saying this, Uncle Gao walked toward the grand desk, then used the communicator to dial General Song's line. He wanted Song Ling Shuang to hear General Song's answer in person. To his surprise, Song Ling Shuang suddenly shouted, Xingshen. It sounded like she was calling out to her mecha. Seeing this, Scorpion couldn't even help but laugh out loud. Girl, have you watched too much anime? Do you think shouting will make a hero jump out to save you? And you're calling that ancient piece of junk. If I recall correctly, Xingshen shouldn't even have an AI system installed, right? Can it even understand you calling it? On the other end of the communicator, hearing the conversation, you couldn't help but mutter, "What? Is Song Lingshuang speaking Morse code? You think I can't understand? Who are you looking down on?" A few minutes ago, you had already used the communicator to learn about the situation on Song Lingshuang's side. The conversation between them was crystal clear. 1,000 words boiled down to one sentence. Your equipment was stolen by someone else. How can I tolerate this? I, Xingshen, trekked for 6 hours. My feet almost got soaked in the sea reaching here. And you're telling me the cargo is gone? Taking advantage of me being old and weak, are you? I have to let this anger out. In the empty hangar, you, who had been in hibernation, suddenly restarted. Now you must find a way to get out. While thinking, your single red eye lit up in the darkness. 2 gleaming slasher wrist blades unsheathed accordingly. Meanwhile, a dark red light spread through the air, gradually covering the entire hangar. This was you, scanning the material properties of the hangar walls and doors. But the result took you by surprise. Who are you trying to keep out? The entire hangar was made of artificial force-gathering alloy. This was a synthetic metal developed by Omega. This kind of metal could even withstand energy strikes of the Great Change grade. After a second of intense mental struggle, you decisively gave up on forcing the door open. It seems a more elegant method is required. The next moment, you unhesitatingly issued an order to the system. Initiate network intrusion. Since you swapped in the new power core, 2 additional combat skills had appeared. One is hardening, which can temporarily increase the chassis strength.
The other
Is network intrusion, used against human factions. You thought you'd never use this skill, but you didn't expect to be proven wrong so quickly. Both combat skills can be upgraded using evolution points. Scanning network ports. 647 hackable targets found. Network intrusion in progress. Estimated cracking time, 3 minutes 17 seconds. And on the other side of the communicator, Gao Tianzi had already dialed General Song's line. The moment Song Lingshuang made a move, Scorpion kicked him straight to the ground and broke 2 of his ribs on the spot. Immediately, Song Lingshuang felt like his back had been struck by a gigantic pendulum. And then an excruciating pain shot through him. Before he could make any move, his arms were yanked behind his back. At the same time, someone stomped on his lower legs. Next, he was lifted up onto his knees. At that moment, Scorpion grabbed Song Lingshuang's hair and threatened viciously, "If you act up again, I'll break your legs." Little girl, just being fearless is useless. You need to learn to judge the situation. Know when to yield and when to stand tall. Understand? This is none of your business. I hate disobedient kids the most. Facing Scorpion's cold stare, Song Lingshuang just let out a mocking laugh. Unexpectedly, the other side slapped him right across the face. In the next instant, blood dripped from the corner of Song Lingshuang's mouth. His messy white hair covered the side of his face. With Scorpion's twisted expression, Song Lingshuang spat a mouthful of blood onto the carpet. A second later, Scorpion drew the knife hanging at his side. Looks like you only respond to violence, not reason. Just as Scorpion's blade was about to slash Song Lingshuang's face, a thunderous explosion erupted in the distance. Instantly, fiery light shot into the sky, illuminating the pagoda swallowed by darkness. Right after came the shrill alarm and the crowd shouting. What a coincidence! General Song happened to pick up the cum at that very moment. Before anyone could react, a second explosion followed immediately. Along with it came another surge of blazing flames. Seeing this, Uncle Gao angrily threw the communicator back onto the table. What's going on? Facing Gao Tianzi's questioning, Scorpion on the other side was just as confused. But he quickly deduced some things based on the direction of the explosion. It's the power plant. The specifics are still unclear. I'm going now. Before he could finish, a report came through Scorpion's device. It was a subordinate reporting in. For a moment, Scorpion looked at Song Lingshuang in fear and anger. Why is Xingshen acting on his own? Stop him, now. Hearing this, Song Lingshuang just sneered. Stop him? I'm right here. How am I supposed to stop him? With that, he slowly lifted his head and looked at the other with pity in his eyes. Meanwhile, in the hangar, you heard through the what was happening on Song Lingshuang's end. You were covered in cables at that moment. Their glowing white light made the whole hangar as bright as day.
Luckily,
The cybersecurity on these charging cables wasn't great. It only took you 10 seconds to hack all of them. But it'll be another 2 minutes to hack the hangar doors. After you've plugged all these cables into their ports, surging power flowed along the cables in reverse. And the moment it reached the generator banks, all the capacitor units overloaded at once. As you methodically detonated these generator banks, the AI suddenly sounded an alarm. Hostile mecha detected approaching. System is analyzing. Mecha codename, Cobra. Model, specialization type. Gen 3 Decimator Mech. Pilot, Black. Heart Lane. Heart's Mech. Gen 3 Adaptive Nuclear Powered Armor. Combat Rating, C Class. 4,900. Looking at this long list of equipment modules, you couldn't help but complain. Seriously. How am I supposed to win against that? Their combat power is 3 times mine. While you were fretting, the system panel popped up again, calculating both sides' strength, suggesting possible tactics. Didn't expect? The new AI could even give tactical advice. This sudden surprise gave you new hope. But when you saw the tactic was retreat, you almost spit coolant on the metal wall. What kind of tactical suggestion is that? If I retreat, I'd still have to wait a minute for the hack to finish. As you anxiously considered how to handle this tough opponent, the hangar door's access chime sounded outside, and moments later the doors began to open slowly. Very soon, a tall figure appeared before you, a first-generation mecha capable of autonomous movement. How fascinating. With that, Cobra raised his gun at you. From the moment you saw Cobra, you knew. With Xingshen's current equipment modules, you couldn't even penetrate their armor. There's no way you'd win in a head-on fight. If you use the hardening skill to power up Bladestorm and go head-to-head, you'd still be taken down before reaching him. After all, the hardening skill's boost effect is inversely related to coverage area. The greater the area you harden, the worse the defense becomes. And the duration also gets shorter. You can't have offense and defense at once. At this point, the only solution you could think of was to stall. Just then, Cobra had a corrosion energy rifle in his hands. He intended to finish you off with one shot. But your move made both parties reconsider. You were still connected to the other power plant's charging cables. You deliberately showed Cobra the cable at your waist, making sure he could see it, to make him hesitate to act rashly. In the next second, on Cobra's chest, a real-time video feed was projected. On screen, Scorpion had one hand clamped over Song Lingshuang's mouth, the other hand holding a knife against Song Lingshuang's neck. I thought this girl was remotely controlling you, but now it's clear that's not the case at all. I may not know what's gotten into you, AI, but I think everything you're doing is for this girl, right? With that, Scorpion stabbed the knife into Song Lingshuang's skin. Bright red blood immediately flowed out along the blade. Then Scorpion looked at the screen and continued threatening. You have 30 seconds. Put your hands where I can see them. Then, pull off every cable from your body one by one. The timer starts now. With no choice, you had to do as Scorpion said. Moments later, one by one, the cables slipped off you, as if you'd given up resisting. But you weren't about to just wait for death. Instead, you focused your attention entirely on the system's countdown timer, until the numbers dropped from double digits to single digits. Then you moved your hand slowly toward the cable at your spine. That was the most powerful charging cable of all. You saved this cable for last on purpose.
now,
Your alloyed giant hand gripped the final cable. All you had to do was twist gently, and your connection to this generator bank would be cut instantly when the hacking countdown hit its last second. Scorpion, right in front of you, gave Cobra the command, do it. But at that moment, a sudden explosion came from Cobra's direction, and the entire video feed was forcibly shut down. The smile froze on Scorpion's face. What happened? On the other end of the communicator, Scorpion could clearly hear the Heart brothers screaming in agony. Muffled cries. After Rain forced out those two words, the audio link was cut off. Now, inside Hangar 4, Cobra was pinned under the alloy gate, unable to move. Turns out, the instant the countdown reached 0, you detonated the generator in Hangar 4, then took the opportunity to force close the hangar doors immediately. Now, control was in your hands. Because light armor isn't in the same league as giant alloy. You knew this was the key, and that's why you used the hangar door to trap Cobra. At that moment, another support column shot out from Cobra's mech. An enormous pressure squeezed it from both sides. It looked as if it could shatter any second. Then, holding the cable you'd just pulled out, in the next second, you plugged it directly into the port under his armor. On Cobra's firewall whitelist, most of Silent Eye's programs were already there. So, all you had to do was insert the hacking program onto the charging cable. And you could easily masquerade as a whitelisted user and bypass the firewall to invade directly. Warning, neural synchro has been forcibly cut. With the system prompt, Heartbro. Complete loss of control over the mechs. Then, you immediately release the Cobra from the door's crushing force. This is a precious third-generation mech. If it really gets damaged, where would the upgrade parts for Xingxing come from? As you spoke, you tore open the cockpit armor in one swift motion. Then you flicked your fingers at the two brothers. After two screams faded from your receiver, both mechs advanced toward the inner high wall together. Meanwhile, inside the battle command center, an officer yelled open fire into the communicator. Stop them. Immediately, all the cannons on the high wall instantly locked onto you. The next moment, countless energy pulses rained down like shooting stars, directly attacking the two mechs under your control. Seeing this, you quickly maneuvered Xingxin to hide behind the Cobra. Fortunately, Cobra's armor is designed specifically to withstand man-made weapons. So, none of the pulses caused any substantial damage. Now that you've finished, it's my turn, right? With those words, you impatiently started controlling the Cobra. Suddenly, a ball of black energy shot out from the barrel and struck directly at the densest fire point. In an instant, over a dozen automatic cannons were destroyed on the spot. A huge hole was melted into the high wall. Seeing this, you didn't hesitate again, unleashing a burst of 3 consecutive shots. Immediately, the energy blasts hit the 3 densest locations one after another. In less than a minute, all defensive firepower on the wall was wiped out. Who would have thought? The energy corrosion of the Black Blood rifle is this exaggerated. But this weapon's weakness is pretty obvious too. Maximum 4 consecutive shots at once. Changing the storage tank takes up to half a minute.
And
Cobra's ammo bay can only hold 4 tanks, but that's more than enough for the current firepower. As you spoke, you raised your hand and replaced the chemical canister under the barrel. Then you piloted both mechs toward the high tower. When you arrived at the top floor lounge, you ripped the tower's rooftop off with one sweep, then tossed it aside like garbage. Immediately, all the exoskeleton soldiers stood in front of Gao Tianzi and aimed their energy rifles at you. At that moment, Gao Tianzi pressed a gun to Song Lingshuang's head and threatened frantically, "Stop right now, or else don't blame me if my hand shakes." After all, his only bargaining chip right now is Song Lingshuang. So you paused what you were doing, not for anything else. You just wanted to see, after Cemetery of Silence was ruined like this, what demands he could still make. Even though you stayed still, Gao Tianzi's body was still trembling uncontrollably. Looks like you understand human speech. The losses you all caused me are incalculable. If you want him to stay alive, then shoot your own reactor right now. Otherwise, before he could finish. Song Lingshuang let out a mocking laugh. Then she spat out the words coward, 1 syllable at a time. Her laughter was like a knife, stabbing deep into Gao Tianzi's wildly beating heart. The next instant, Xingxin's shoulder armor suddenly began to morph. In a flash, 2 rows of cannons appeared before everyone. Then, bullets rained down on the group of exoskeleton soldiers. Those who couldn't react were instantly shredded. Only a few decisively used their exoskeletons to escape directly from the outer wall of the tower. In just a few seconds, The luxurious lounge was reduced to utter chaos by a barrage of bullets. Terrified, Gao Tianzi threw down his gun and collapsed to the ground, still yelling nonstop, "Stay away from me. Keep your distance." Finally, after Song Lingshuang knocked him out with a kick, she grabbed his leg and dragged him into Xingshen's cockpit. Immediately, Song Lingshuang wiped clean the blood from her face and stood again at the operator's station. Neural sync successful. Current sync rate, 97%. Upon hearing the familiar system sound, you finally relaxed. Controlling two mechs simultaneously almost overloaded the mecha brain. It's not that you can't handle the controls. It's simply because the computational memory isn't enough. Once the mech spirit level rises, this problem will be solved. But the ways to raise the mech soul level are pretty abstract. According to the system, let living beings either admire or fear the mech. In short, either let Xingshen earn everyone's respect, or become a symbol of terror. But before you could think further, a system alert sounded again. Far outside the high wall, a mech in full purple paint was quickly approaching you all. The system analysis panel appeared before you. Mech code, Scorpion. Model, specialized. 3rd generation duelist mech. Pilot, Scorpion. Specs, 3rd gen variable frequency nuclear powered armor. Combat rating, C, 5,200 points, which disappeared. Scorpion piloted the mech back onto the battlefield. You never expected a mech scrapyard to have two 3rd gen mechs at the same time. That's pretty extravagant. In response, Song Lingshuang simply kept a calm expression. Although Gao Tianzi has been generous to our venom cores, these two mechs don't belong to him. You have to repay favors as a decent person. He still owes us half a year's salary. With those words, Scorpion crossed through the gap in the wall, entering attack range immediately. You should know your own limits. Leave Cobra and Gao Tianzi with me, and I'll let you return to Dark Sky. As for what comes next, that's for your General Song and Gao Tianzi to discuss on their own. Scorpion's tone had a hint of amusement, but Song Ling Shuang only sneered. Did I ever say I'd head back to Dark Sky? With those words, the Slayer blade shot out directly from beneath Xingshen's arm. Meanwhile, you activated Cobra's black wrist blade beneath its arm. On the other side, Scorpion also took a fighting stance. This time, Song Lingshuang struck first, just as Xingshen's Slayer blade lunged at Scorpion's head. A silver metal chainsword suddenly wrapped around Cobra, suspending it mid-air. The next second, Scorpion's giant claw grabbed straight onto Xingshen's shoulder and gripped its movable joint tightly. As Scorpion's other hand began to morph, heavily armored plating started folding layer by layer, then revealed the giant thermal acceleration cannon hidden in his wrist. He pressed it against Xingshen's reactor. Unexpectedly, 2 loud explosions erupted right in Scorpion's hand. Xingshen seized the moment to break free. Who would have thought? You actually survived the corrosive missile attack. At that moment, Scorpion stared at Xingshen coming out of the smoke, then glanced at you piloting Cobra nearby. Fortunately, you gave permission for hardening abilities to Song Lingshuang in advance. So during the chain sword attack, Song Lingshuang used hardening to reinforce Xingshen's armor locally, minimizing damage as much as possible. Now, Xingshen was firing on Scorpion like mad. Artillery rounds kept blowing up on his armor. Scorpion inside the cockpit was forced to keep retreating from the shockwaves until Xingshen's barrel overheated near breaking. Scorpion finally seized the chance and suddenly deployed the missile launchers beneath his shoulder armor. But just then, you launched another attack, controlling Cobra directly. You initiated close combat. Scorpion was totally unprepared. When Cobra struck Scorpion's mech, 8 corrosive missiles from Wuxi's core fired at that very moment. Purple flames exploded between the gaps of the 2 mechs. Instantly, chemicals capable of dissolving alloys rained down on their armor. After reading the data, before you could even be surprised, the system displayed another set of information. Monster name, Demon Shark. Monster energy level, 2. After a moment, more data came in. The mechs followed Blue Eagle as it burst out from the water. Piercing shrieks echoed nonstop. In the next moment, Scorpion's shoulder armor began to transform. Suddenly, 8 missile ports erupted in unison with blazing flames. A second later, a monster mecha covered in seaweed melted instantly. Meanwhile, Cobra drew a massive energy rifle, then fired twice at Blue Hawk, who stood at the front. But unexpectedly, Blue Hawk simply dodged aside suddenly. The black energy blast just brushed past him. Watch out, Blue Hawk's mobility now is on another level compared to before. By the time you finish this sentence, the opponent has already adjusted their combat stance and lunged straight at Scorpion. So fast. Song Ling Shuang had never seen a mecha move so agilely. Even with a 2-kilometer buffer distance, you could still clearly hear the sonic boom produced by Blue Hawk's charge. As you prepare to control Cobra for a second round of shooting, a few shells suddenly exploded on Cobra's armor. Fortunately, Cobra's body armor had very strong resistance against the shells, so the interior was not damaged. I'll handle Blue Hawk. You go deal with the other monster mechas. Saying this, Song Ling Shuang piloted Xingshen to charge at Blue Hawk. As he readied the executioner blade to stab at Blue Hawk's head, suddenly a sound of shattering metal came from the opponent's hand. A massive bone claw burst through Blue Hawk's hand armor. Then, the 5 fuel booster ports on its wrist went to full power. Blue Hawk's attack was a split second faster than Xingshen's. The claw instantly tore off a third of Xingshen's head components. At that moment, Song Ling Shuang's attack hadn't finished, but he was already forced to retreat several steps. Before he could steady his stance, Blue Hawk's other mechanical hand came smashing down onto Xingshen's head. Luckily, the executioner blade barely blocked the strike, but Blue Hawk still didn't give Song Ling Shuang a moment to breathe. You saw him swing his bone claw once more, aiming directly at Xingshen's abdomen. Hit again, Xingshen was knocked back several more steps, while Blue Hawk's bone claw was sent flying back by the powerful recoil. Turns out Song Ling Shuang activated hardening in time. That's how he withstood the attack. Meanwhile, Cobra had already loaded his final magazine. Even if his energy rifle could take out an enemy with one shot, it was impossible to stop the overwhelming numbers. Some of the newly landed monster mechas would even pick up fallen comrades and use them as shields to block the shots. Scorpion's situation was slightly better. Although chemical missile reserves were nearly depleted, Scorpion was far more formidable in close quarters combat. When monster mecha tried to ambush Scorpion from above, a giant steel fist simply smashed it to the ground. Before the monster mecha could get up, a half-broken scorpion tail pierced straight through its chest. Controlling 2 mechas in battle at the same time was beginning to leave you overwhelmed. Finally, at this moment, you found an opening to support Song Ling Shuang. 4 chemical missiles fired from Scorpion's snout quickly locked onto the agile Blue Hawk. A second later, a burst of violet flames exploded on his back. Blue Hawk, who had leaped into the air, was forcibly blasted down. At this, Xingshen rushed to Blue Hawk before he could regain his footing. Suddenly swung up the executioner blade. In an instant, a 3-meter deep wound appeared on Blue Hawk's chest. But before Song Ling Shuang could strike again, the opponent suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Xingshen directly. In moments, the support columns inside Xingshen began to snap. Blue Hawk realized, after being wounded, he'd lost his agility advantage, wanting to crush Xingshen into a heap of metal scraps. Seeing this scene, you immediately operated Cobra, and then blasted Blue Hawk's damaged head away on the spot, only to be replaced by a mutated shark head, 10 meters tall. On this ghastly head, there were no eyes or other organs. The entire head was just a giant abyssal maw. On the fangs were countless wriggling flesh nodules between the jaws. The next moment, the giant maw lunged at Xingshen. Suddenly, countless sharp teeth sank deep into Xingshen's armor, trying to crush it. Soon, the system panel popped up again. Neural sync protection active. The system classified the pain this time as lethal. Even with the hardening skill activated, it couldn't stop Blue Hawk's bite. Inside the cockpit, sparks were shooting all around. Along with flashing red holographic warnings, Song Ling Shuang simply issued commands calmly. Fire! With that, the 2 cannons caught in the maw instantly removed their power limits, and all ammunition poured out at once. Explosions in Blue Hawk's giant maw grew larger and larger. The boiling heat burned away all the squirming flesh nodules. A series of explosions erupted one after another, gradually drowning out Blue Hawk's agonized screams. Xingshan took the chance to break free. As Song Lingshuang roared with rage, he raised the executioner blade and drove it straight toward Blue Hawk's dead power core. Song Lingshuang's arm suddenly thrust upward. A single stroke split Blue Hawk clean in half. Meanwhile, as Scorpion retracted its tail again, all the monster mechas were defeated. Cobra's armor damage had reached 89%. All ammo had been used up. Xingshan was in the worst state. Nearly all its armor was shattered, except for the executioner. Arm blades and fists. All other attack systems were lost. Is it over? The prolonged intense battle nearly crashed the operating memory. If that happens, you'll lose control of the mecha for a short time. As you're lost in thought, Song Lingshuang's words snapped you out of it. Red Hurricane isn't here. Now Zhuanzhe Skydome is only guarded by a single specialized second-generation Raider mecha. We have to get back to Zhuanzhe Skydome right now. Before he finished speaking, a thunderous explosion instantly destroyed any hope of escape. At that moment, you could only feel the ground shaking beneath your feet. The previously calm ocean suddenly turned violent again.
Then,
A huge black shadow slowly surfaced, like a black hole growing endlessly. Detected unknown energy fluctuations. Energy level 5. The moment the system warning appeared, your heart sank. After a pause, Song Lingshuang suddenly said, Xingshan, thank you for saving me last time. You couldn't help but chuckle and said, afraid you won't get a chance if you don't say thanks now, huh? But Song Lingshuang just smiled lightly. I told you, even if I die, I want to die in the Ji family. It sounded so natural coming from him. So why don't you ask the mecha if it wants to die? Song Lingshuang's eyes widened at that. He didn't expect such a reply from you. Before you both reached Silent Graveyard, you had already bought insurance in the system shop. Starter pack. Actually, the first slot in the Soul Surge shop promotions always had the starter pack. You just didn't have time to check. When you first got the system, Soul Surge category, all you cared about were mecha parts. This system really feels like a pay-to-win mobile game. Not only are there limited time deals, but also weekly promotions. But there's no recharge page in the shop, so who knows what kind of spending it encourage.
luckily.
This starter pack is truly a great deal. Apparently custom made for new Soul Surge users. It's a one-time only permanent purchase. Contains one consciousness backup and one mecha backup. The consciousness and mecha backups will activate upon Soul Surge death. Strength at the time of backup is based on the pre-death state. Once the backup activates,
New chassis.
we'll throw the previously soul-refined safe mech bay. Price. Oh. It's basically one free resurrection insurance. With that in mind, you decisively hit the purchase button. Soon, alarms from the system sounded again. Neural sync disconnected. Escape pod guidance program initializing. Electronic device damaged. Escape pod guidance failed. Unable to enter the intended launch position. Inside the cockpit, Song Lingshuang anxiously asked, What are you doing? Stop it, I won't let you. But before he could finish speaking, you cut him off. Trust me, you'll see me again in the dark sky. Trust me, as you repeated those 3 words. Song Lingshuang eventually swallowed what he wanted to say, then jumped down from the control station and sat inside the escape pod located behind the cockpit. This time, Xingshan ripped open his own armor again and grabbed the closed escape pod with his hand. Song Lingshuang had both hands pressed tightly against the escape pod door. A pair of red eyes was staring right at Xingshan's massive single eye. As if sensing his unease, Xingshan raised his other hand and gave Song Lingshuang a thumbs up. Power core output has reached maximum. The next second, Xingshan fiercely swung his arm. Like a javelin, tossed the escape pod far away, watching the horizon. The silvery flying object almost breaking through the clouds. You couldn't help but mock yourself. Too bad. My 2 new mechs haven't even warmed up yet. Feels like there's going to be a big battle. But before that, I need to hold you all back first. Come on, Woluo. A massive flood of data surged through your body again. Your consciousness instantly boiled. Within moments, all three mechs entered overload mode. In an instant, more and more level 3 monsters emerged from the water. Having exhausted your ammo supply, you've lost all long-range attack options. You can only control the 3 mechs to fight the monsters head-to-head. As one monster after another fell before you, the shallows beneath your feet were completely dyed green with monster blood. But the more monsters you killed, the more kept coming. Finally, after a sound like a snapped guitar string, your memory crushed, and the soul sync effect started to fade. All 6 mini turbines on Demon Scorpion's arms stopped running. Long accumulated heat exploded directly from the armor's connection ports. Belching white smoke, Cobra, trying to dodge attacks, fell straight out of the air. As you tried to get up again, you found all muscle units were worn out. Xingshen started making overwhelmed creaking sounds, and the Slayer's giant blade couldn't cut through the huge pincers under Redback. The fractured blade spun half a turn in the air, then stabbed straight into the sand. Sleepiness flooded over you like a tide. Your brain was warning you to rest now. Yet even now, you still haven't seen the radar. That unknown level 5 monster. The ground was still shaking at this moment. Huge waves kept pounding the mechs on the shallows. If this really is humidity damage, then why didn't the Alliance receive an early warning? Deep sea detectors have covered all marine areas. Such a massive migration. It should have been detected. Before you could finish thinking, the monsters surged ashore like a tidal wave, gradually swallowing up the 3 fallen mechs. Detected a friendly large aerial unit. System identification in progress. Unit name, Truth. Unit type, M2 Course Class Transport Ship. Affiliation, Watchers Alliance. Omega Research Complex. Just as you were ready to die, system notification brought news you never expected. Something huge appeared, descending from high altitude and landing less than 2 kilometers behind you. Mary, hurry, get your people to treat these 3 mechs. With a deep male voice. Soon. You sensed all 3 chassis were dragged ashore, until someone manually released memory space for you. Your consciousness cleared up again. The first scene you saw was a pure white mech floating in front of Xingshen's chest. Why aren't the 3rd generation dual mechs clearing out monsters? Just as you wondered, that mech suddenly raised its right hand and reached inside Xingshen's chassis, a mechanical device attached to the mech's arm. Wait, what are you doing? For a moment, you couldn't see what this mechanical device was for. Instinctively tried to control Xingshen to get up. But since the white mech was still pressing down on Xingshen, you couldn't move at all. You could only watch. As the white mech stuck its hand inside Xingshen, moments later welding sounds came from Xingshen's abdomen. He's repairing the mech. But isn't this a waste of resources? Installing such a massive mechanical device, is it just to weld parts for other mechs? With these features, fixing mechs is kind of overkill. This strange sight left you silent for a while. Meanwhile, Moses and Cobra were having the same experience. Unfortunately, the system couldn't identify this mech, which means this mech doesn't belong to the Watchers Alliance roster. In barely 5 minutes, the 3 mechs you controlled all received basic repairs and narrowly escaped total destruction. Even so, the battle on the coast continued. As you controlled the 3 mechs to stand up again, the whole coastline had become a mountain of corpses. A sea of blood. Dozens of mechs used guns and cannons to clear out a safe zone. Standing out the most is a dark red mech. You noticed its call sign is lava, but this mech wasn't recognized by your system either. At that moment, Lava's pilot cursed. Damn it, can't kill them all. There's just no end to it. Calling truth. Target mechs out of danger. Requesting evacuation with targets. A while later, Truth denied Lava's request. Evacuation denied. Hold off this beast tide. Hearing this, Lava got emotional. This wasn't our original mission. And aside from these endless monsters, there's nothing here. I haven't seen a level 5 monster. Moments later, Truth sent another signal. We're analyzing the details of the energy signature data. Estimated 17 minutes needed. During this time, you must keep advancing the front line. The closer you get to the energy source, the more data we can collect.
Hearing this.
Lava just had to hold back his urge to curse.
Copy.
Just then, the white mech behind Xingshan finally spoke up. Your mechs are in bad shape. Please don't keep fighting. We'll handle everything from here. Please wait patiently where you are. The white mech's announcement was clearly from a woman. As soon as the lady finished speaking, all three white mechs headed to the front lines. Only then, did you notice? All these mechs had giant backpacks, apparently made from countless assembled components. What the heck is this? Before you could finish wondering, those giant backpacks started transforming rapidly. Within seconds, the components became part of the mechs. Heavy armor, serrated battle blades, hydraulic boosters, anti-shock modules. You watched as all three white angels has become a heavy assault warrior. As expected, after the three heavy armored angels joined the fight, the entire front line was pushed back from the shore to the shallows. Warning, multiple high-threat targets detected approaching. Energy level 4. System warning just popped up. You then saw on the distant sea's surface several giant monsters breaking through. Almost at the exact moment the radar detected the level 4 monsters, Lava turned up the volume on the broadcast to maximum. Stop advancing. At this point on the coast, your system also gave details on the three monsters. They're Thunder Leviathan and the Avenger. Thunder, level 4, resembles a crocodile. Physical type monster. Its body is covered in extremely hard scales. Its destructive power is enough to tear through anything except reinforced alloy. Extremely agile, both in water and on land. The Leviathan's body is very similar to a sea serpent. It has no other organs on its surface, just a giant mouth that can split into 4 segments, as well as 6 soft tendrils capable of releasing 1,000,000 volts each, and it can spit plasma from its mouth. Avenger has a humanoid body, covered in black, sharp armor, highly resistant to both physical and energy attacks. It has black bone spikes on its shoulders, used for long-range attacks on its chest. Under the armor is a special heart, which allows it to spit fire hot enough to melt giant alloys like impaler steel. When level 4 monsters join the battlefield, the situation completely changes. 2 years ago, the first level 4 monster, Abomination, landed in the capital of Aurea. No one expected. Zhenwu took only 10 minutes to destroy all 5 second-generation mechs. In the end, the Watchers Alliance had to sacrifice 12 mechs to finally kill Abomination in the Aurea Basin. Before it fell, it had already destroyed 7 cities, resulting in 14 million deaths. After that battle, humanity began to rethink the monster threat and gradually built even more powerful third-generation mechs. Mechs kept being upgraded, and of course, monsters evolved too. Now, with 3 devastating level 4 monsters appearing together, it's as if you can foresee everyone's fate, which is total destruction. But for you, it's a risk and reward opportunity. As long as you stand out during this crisis, slaying at least 1 level 4 monster, then you'll not only gain a massive amount of evolution points, but also earn the respect of everyone present, making them realize just how strong Xingshan is, and further raise your mech soul rank. Thinking of this, you open the Evolution Systems shop page, staring at the remaining 10,000 evolution points. These are from your efforts during the flooding, desperately slaying many level 3 monsters, plus the points you had left over before, adding up to your current total. The 3 mechs under your control now are all in bad shape, let alone fighting level 4 monsters. Even facing a redback shrimp could mean getting dismantled. But if you don't seize this chance, no one can guarantee there will be another one. With this thought, you open your eyes again, then open the system shop. Redemption successful. Mech Fusion Solution unlocks permissions for the power core, allowing the mech to assimilate parts directly and quickly install components onto itself. Note: this feature can be used on other mechs under Mech Soul control. It can also be used to absorb unassigned components. Price: 10,000. Available evolution points. Oh. Meanwhile, on the truth, Scorpion stood at the command room door, visibly anxious. If Dr. Yuan doesn't let Rongyan and the others retreat soon, it'll be too late for everything. Our original mission was just to capture Xingshan. Other mech regiments can handle the flooding. Before she could finish, Dr. Yuan let out a cold laugh. You're just worried about your mantis, aren't you? Ever since Chris returned from Obsidian Skies, I've noticed him paying extra attention to Xingshan. If the thing that fell from Eden really is, as he wrote in his report, just space junk, then his story doesn't add up with what Nina said. When Chris learned Xingshan was coming to Silent Graveyard for an upgrade, he used Omega's authority to forcibly buy the parts General Song ordered, and ordered Gao Tianzi to detain Xingshan until Omega could recover him. I'm guessing you didn't expect it would be me coming.
Not Chris.
When Yuanjun finished his guess, he turned his eyes to the holographic data model being built. That is, the system calculating the true form of a level 5 monster. Meanwhile, Scorpion was still trying to argue. Dr. Yuan, please listen to me. But Yuanjun cut him off abruptly. There's nothing to explain. You take orders from Omega. The real culprit is Chris, who lied and covered up. Besides, I was the one who did your sister's operation. I know you're worrying about her condition. Just as Scorpion was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Dr. Yuan suddenly changed his tone. But you need to understand, from a monster's perspective, everyone is their prey. Whether Omega or any other mech course, they're all duty-bound to stop these monsters at any cost. Until reinforcements arrive, the Truth and Truth Guard will not retreat. Looking into Dr. Yuan's deep blue eyes, Scorpion felt like he'd fallen into an ice cave. Meanwhile, along the night coast, Lava was leading the mechs, steadily pulling back the front line. You all should know what kind of order Dr. Yuan will give us. If you want to use the escape pods, do it now, or it'll be too late soon. As she said this, Rongyan gradually brought her mech to a stop, then looked at the formation in the optimal defense position. All 13 mechs in the Truth Guard, and not a single one activated the escape pod guide. Seeing this, Rongyan rubbed her dry eyes, then stared straight at the gigantic figures out at sea. All right, deploy the formation as planned. Get ready to engage the level 4 monsters. Right away, 12 mechs responded in perfect unison. Received the next second. Mary suddenly heard a strange buzzing sound. Turning her head toward the sound, she was shocked to discover, at some point, 3 damaged mechs were standing in a row. The oldest, Xingshan, stood in the center, Mantis and Cobra on either side. At the same time, a black fluid was seeping out of Xingshan's power core. In the blink of an eye, the fluid wrapped Xingshan up completely. Then it flowed along Xingshan's arms, spreading onto Cobra and Mantis. That eerie buzzing sound came from Xingshan's strange power core. Meanwhile, aboard the Truth, an officer walked up to Yuanjun and said respectfully, Doctor, should we have Longyan try to stop Xingshan? Hearing this, Dr. Yuan smiled slightly. No need. I understand now why Chris is so interested in Xingshan. He's no longer the mech I originally designed. Then, Rongyan also received Dr. Yuan's order not to interfere. Moments later, thunder suddenly roared on the coast, and the briefly stalled beast tide surged again. The previously disorganized monsters formed into squads and launched an all-out attack from multiple directions. How is this possible? The monsters are actually using tactics. Seeing this, Rongyan immediately issued an order. Change formation. Meanwhile, the mech's fusion. The process is slower than you think. Scorpios and Cobras. At this moment, they are completely covered by black fluid. Surging currents appear and disappear around all 3 mechs. Open fire! The roar of lava pulled Mary's attention away from Xingshan, and just as he turned his head, the beast horde launched attacks from 3 directions at once. Countless bullets flew from the rotating chambers. Innumerable metal shells rained down to the ground. Green beast blood sprayed everywhere like a fountain. Warning, barrel overheating. Cooling system engaged. Estimated required time, 40 seconds. Along with the sound of alarms blaring, lava once again issued a stern command, facing the mechs suddenly at the very front. They retracted their barrels simultaneously, then took 3 steps back. The mechs that were standing in the second row moved up to fill the front. A dense hail of bullets once again weaved through the air, instantly forming a flawless defensive net. The White Angels at the rear of the team immediately started repairing the mechs that just rotated out, conducting maintenance. The original 40-second cooldown was cut to just 20 seconds with the help of the White Angels' cryo spray. Is now shortened to 20 seconds. In the distance, Thunder stared unblinking at the scene before him. He didn't move forward. He simply stood still like a commander. After only 4 rotations, the area in front of the squad was piled into a mound by monster corpses. As lava was issuing the 5th rotation order, Thunder once again howled to the sky. Endless beasts charged again instantly. Some of them leaped up from the mountain of their companions' corpses, trying to break through the fire from above. Others continued launching ground attacks. Seeing this, Lava immediately changed tactics. Activate shoulder missile array. Keep formation and retreat evenly for 100 meters. Rolling flames rose like smoke, blooming in the air like flowers, before the blood rain could hit the ground. The explosion's heat had already evaporated it. Countless bodies fell from the sky toward Lava's team. Quick formation change. Even though Lava promptly warned everyone, chunks of corpses still slammed into the heavy armored mechs. For a moment, gaps appeared in the formation. In this moment of crisis, the 3 White Angels unhesitatingly filled the front row. Their arms rapidly transformed. The original magnetic repair needles split in the middle, becoming 3 prongs, forming stabilizers around the energy spray port. 3 electric arcs erupted from the energy projectors simultaneously, striking the monsters charging up front. Fall back. On Lava's command, all the heavy armored warriors immediately adjusted formation. The White Angels once again moved to the back of the group. And as expected, after stretching out the distance again, the monsters could no longer break through by leaping. But Lava knew he was about to face an even tougher situation. With 3 White Angels using energy shocks together, their reactor output would temporarily drop. This meant they couldn't use cryo sprays in the short term. With firepower at full blast, the Vulcan guns could only shoot for 30 seconds straight. Everyone would face a 10-second lull in firepower. Lava frowned deeply now, his brain working at lightning speed. He actually already had an answer in mind, but stubbornly ruled that option out. As the last bullet casing hit the ground, the Vulcan guns soon all fell silent. In the next instant, dozens of beasts charged directly at the mechs. 2 heavy mechs quickly raised their chainsaws, then, without hesitation, rushed to intercept the oncoming horde. This was the solution Lava had thought of. But the others had thought of it too. That was to use their lives to hold out for those 10 seconds of downtime. William, Robin, Longin shouted their names with all his might in the cockpit, shouting their names at the top of his lungs. And the 2 mechs already charging toward the horde only tacitly looked back one last time at the retreating formation. It was their silent farewell. In the blink of an eye, the 2 mechs were instantly overwhelmed by the beast horde and devoured on the spot. In Lava's communicator, all he could hear was the chainsaw cutting and the sound of flesh tearing apart. 5 seconds later, only static was left in Lava's ears. On the Ark of Truth, everyone witnessed this numbing scene. Ark of Truth, come in. Scarlet Fortress Legion. Estimated arrival to the battlefield in 7 minutes. Dragonsail Legion. Estimated arrival in 5 minutes. Listening to the constant comes in his headset, Dr. Yuan did not respond personally to anyone. He just passed the connection to the communications officer. 5 minutes earlier, Dr. Yuan had broadcast the frontline footage to the Watchers Legion. This move shocked many people, because no one expected the first to reach the battlefield would be the ad hoc legion led by Omega. And the leader of this ad hoc legion was Yuan Zhen, vice president of the Omniscience Hall, one of Omega's founders. At this moment on the coastline, Lava's gaze remained fixed on where the 2 mechs were swallowed. But he had even more troublesome problems to deal with right now. Not another mech can be lost. even sacrificing 2 more team members to cover those 5 seconds. The defense line would still keep being whittled down due to lack of firepower. As he pondered, and Lava's mech prepared to step forward, another steel hand stopped him by the shoulder. It's not your turn yet, Captain. Next second, the mechs piloted by the Liu couple pushed past Lava, and then charged headlong into the oncoming beast tide. All Lava could do was close his eyes in helpless resignation. Clouded tears welled up in his eyes. Just then, a stranger's voice sounded behind Lava. At the same moment, his system gave an alert. Thankfully, Lava instinctively dodged the danger. It was a black, long-handled battle axe. That strange humming noise was the sound of the axe slicing through the air. Before the Liu couple's mechs could reach the horde, the battle axe swept between the 2 mechs, piercing right through the hammerhead beast at the front in an instant. But the battle axe didn't stop there, instead rampaging forward relentlessly.
Damn.
That's a huge steamed bun. Ling Tian, you lost. As promised, don't bother me again. I'm focused on cultivation. I'm not thinking about romance. Just give it up. Shangon Ling, you really think you can ditch me? I'll have my mom propose marriage to your Shangguan family. Your Shangguan family can't mess with my Lin family. You'll be my woman sooner or later. Wishful thinking. I've joined the Wangsun sect. Even your Lin family can't control Wangsun sect. Give up already. Little punk. Who's a punk? I'm just admiring you. So shallow. You won't turn your broken heart
Against me.
and try to kill me out of anger, right? Congrats, you guessed it. Go die. Don't do it. Golden finger old man. System.
Crap.
Now I feel much better. Shangon Ling, just wait. One day I'll make you kneel before me, Brother Suwo. Go back to Lin family now, Mom. Well, what's wrong with your mom? Mom just blew up. My mom exploded. What does exploded mean? Exploded means exploded. Mom was telling me stories about your childhood, and suddenly exploded while talking. Blood got all over me. You should come back soon. I'm not dead. Something's wrong. Did I just restart? Is this a new account? What's going on? At least let me kill some mobs for XP. Name, Jiu Ming, reborn in the cultivation world. Talent, borrow life, killed by enemy. Can randomly sacrifice one close relative. Revive self and get a random card draw. Sacrifice target, Ling Tian's mom. Sacrifice method, self-detonation. Effect, host revived with extra reward. Gained one card draw. Card content comes from the sacrificed person. Infinite lifespan, immortal and indestructible. This start is safe. This Lin Tian is a cultivator. His mom's most likely one too. Even if luck sucks, no way I'll get a useless skill. Damn it, I have no spiritual power. What's the use of a cultivation method for me? Wait, I have infinite revivals. As long as I don't die, I've always got chances to get stronger. Cultivation world, your nightmare is here. The world's future #1 is here now. Poor beggar. Still dreaming in broad daylight. Pretty much lost his mind. Mortal. How do you know? I won't become a legend in this world. When I rule the world, you mortals won't even qualify to look up at me. Shit, this isn't how the story goes. I'm a transmigrator. I'm supposed to be the MC with cheats. How could I starve to death? A transmigrator starved to death. Guess I'm the first ever. I don't want to transmigrate. I just want to go home and eat big steamed buns. Damn transmigrator. It's nothing like the novels. No super experts. No beautiful soulmates. No master. Can't even get work as a laborer. Can't rob. Can't steal. I just suck. Other than courting death. I can't think of any other way out. But dying really sucks. Unless I have to. I don't want to use the death experience card. I don't want to transmigrate. I want to go home and eat big steamed buns. Wait, hey, old master. Are you in trouble? Wanna talk to me about it?
If I'm able to help.
I'll give it my all. Forget it, you're almost starving. What can you do for me anyway? They're the Fallen Array clans. Ordinary folks can't mess with them. Sigh, it's all so sad. I've been good my whole life. How come good never happens to me? Either way, it's just death. Tell me maybe. Maybe I really can help. My son did hard labor for a tyrant. He died from overwork. That tyrant said dying on his turf was unlucky. Asked me for 10 taels as compensation. I had no money, so they took my only granddaughter to Wanhua House to pay the debt by serving men. To buy her back, I saved every scrap. Barely ate for years. Worked day and night. Took 3 years to save 10 taels. But now the tyrant says my granddaughter, Zhou Wexao, ate his food and drank his drinks for 3 years, so now I owe 100 taels. I know I can't pay it off. Those 10 taels and 2 meat buns for Zhou Wexao were for my son. Is there no justice left? Any law left in this world? Corrupt officials side with bullies. Normal folks like us can't talk about justice. Do you mean? First time feeling how cruel this world is. I have a way to save your granddaughter. Old Joe clearly doesn't believe me. You're out of options anyway. Might as well give it a shot. Take this 10 taels as payment. Tell me your granddaughter's name and what she looks like. Wait outside Wanhua House. I'll bring your granddaughter back safely. But once you get her, leave Luozhen right away. Guess I'll have to die again. Really don't want to go through that. Looking like a beggar now. Can't even get inside Wanhua House. Gotta go to Yai's first. Wanhua House, only brothel in Luozhen. Scholars and nobles all come to hear music. Not like the fancy brothels I imagined. Luozhen's Wanhua House is pretty simple. Not that classy or fancy. They're dressed up and all dolled up, leaning on rails showing off. Heavy scent of makeup everywhere. Makes passersby stop and stare. Folks hesitate a moment, grit their teeth, then get surrounded by a group of girls in fancy blue dress, and walk into Wanhua House. Finally spent 10 taels. Bought 2 decent sets of clothes. One in my size, one in Zhou Wexio's size. A bamboo hat, a fire starter, a bottle of oil, a dagger. As a transmigrator, knowing how to make fire bottles. Makes sense, right? Since that's the case, I'll look for a chance in Wanhua House. Sir, your look is really unique. Don't ask about what you shouldn't. A fancy room, best food and drinks. Got it. Right this way, sir. Sir, these ladies are our best in Wanhua house. Run. Not suitable, get another group. Sir, what kind of girl are you looking for? Someone pure, with family, best if she's forced here. This one should be just right for you, sir. Don't say any more. I'm not here for fun. I'm here to get you out. Your grandpa sent me. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for saving me. Stop crying, time is tight. Do as I say. Stick close to me later. Don't talk. Keep your head down. Pretend you're my servant. If something goes wrong, just blend into the crowd. Run as far as you can. What about you? I'm ready for anything. Just kidding. Remember, no matter what happens, don't worry about me. Just leave Wanhua house right away. Or you'll get me and your grandpa killed. Got it? Understood. Oh, my dear customer. Why are you out so soon?
Ahem.
Sorry about that. I left in a hurry and forgot my money. Hey, you... What do you think you're doing? Acting all proper. Trying to get a freebie, huh? You got the guts to kill me? If you kill me, you won't get away. And I've got dozens of tough guys here. Kid, put the knife down. Stay as a host. You might survive. Where'd this brat get the guts to cause trouble here? You really don't know fear. You're not afraid of death, but scared of bullies? You gotta be joking. Well, in that case, I'll send you on your way. Do me a favor and say hi for me. Hey, kid. Don't do anything crazy. I can get you out safe and give you 1,000 taels of silver. Do you take me for a kid? If I let you go, I'm dead. Ah, Jukui. Trying to get me killed, huh? Step back, quick. Let the kid go. Step back, kid. You can't escape. Just give up, man. I can make your death quick. My goal is to cause chaos, so Jomo can get out safely. Ah, 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 ah. This Jukui is actually super tough. That's all you've got? I'm at level 5 body tempering. Your tricks can't hurt me. I'm not afraid of Molotovs, but it does sting. With this mess, Wanhua house lost at least 1,000 taels. Impressive. Where? Is that you? Grandpa. Grandpa. Sir, can he get out alive? I really didn't expect.
He risked his life to save us.
There are still kind people in this world. There are such good souls nowadays. Where we can't help him. If the hero doesn't leave, everything he did will be wasted. Let's go. From now on, my Zhou family will only worship our benefactor. No more gods, just him. Let me go. I'm a terrible swimmer. Even if I could escape, I don't really plan to. Because I need my talent to survive. I gotta find something to stay alive. Or I'll starve soon. But it's a pity Wanhua house got wrecked. Damn it. Ghosts. Even as a ghost, I won't let you off. The Wang family will hunt you down. You all saw it. That guy used Wang Rufang as a shield. I killed by accident trying to save him. Yeah, it was an accident. Yeah, it's all that thief's fault. Boss even got hurt saving people. She finally caught the thief and dragged them both out. I'll deal with that thief myself. Boss, sir, something's happened. My dad's a level 8 expert. What could go wrong? Boss, he was resting at home. Suddenly there was an accident. And he's just gone. It was a total mess. My dad was a level 8 expert. How could he blow up? Are you insane? But why would the servants lie? It's probably true. My Wanhua house is ruined. My dad blew up. Damn bringer of bad luck. My new clothes are trashed. No clue what power I'll get this time. Hope it's something useful. Killed by a bunch of ghosts. Sacrifice his dad. Host is revived and gets a card draw. His dad must not have a wife. Otherwise it'd be his mom who died. Was it because the power was too weak? The weaker you are, the fewer cards you get. Give me a useful skill. Cultivation basics, theory and needed medicine. Why does this sound useless again? At least now I know how to start cultivation. I guess I'm finally on the path. The book says, the first step is body tempering. Pretty obvious. Train your body step by step. Strengthen yourself inside and out. Hit a certain point, and you can draw in spirit energy. Then begin the next stage. There are 9 body tempering levels. Usually you need medicine to help. Relying on yourself alone, you can't even start cultivation. Now I can't even feed myself. How am I supposed to get stronger? Even with the basics. I still don't know how to start. The outline says, you need a secret art and special potion. But I don't have anything. The road's tough. But there's always a way. Something will work out. But big cities have more chances. Let's try my luck in the city. 3 months later. After 3 months of study, I finally get where I am. This is called Scavenging Continent. It's a world of cultivation. Sex rule above mortal empires. My country is Yanqing, Scavenging Continent, one of many tiny empires. Even mortals have cultivators, and a lot of them, especially in big cities. Some even reach legendary golden core level. These experts can fly and live for 500 years. The nearest big city is Qingyun City. You want to join our caravan? Heading to Qingyun City? Fine, but we don't keep freeloaders. You'll carry goods and do night watch. Only 2 meals a day. No pay. Come with me. Now I'm set. As long as I reach Qingyun City. On to Qingyun City. I'm bound to get lucky. Here comes the real cultivator.